Hello everyone, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to give you my review of Into the Badlands Season 4. Now, Into the Badlands is a very interesting show to me. I think I've reviewed Seasons 2 and 3 on this channel. And Into the Badlands is a show that came out about, I'd say, going on 5 years now. And it's a very acquired taste kind of show because it's kind of spaghetti martial art, like kung fu movie, like those old movies in the past, like 12 Chambers, and like kind of that old school style Drunken Fist like style show in terms of its action and the way that it's presented. But Into the Badlands, just to give you kind of a short summary, just in case you haven't watched just in case you've just watched, which I don't know why you just watched season 4 and you haven't really seen anything, to just kind of give you an idea of a vibe for Into the Badlands. And it's this apocalypse, and the show is great. Well, it's not great. The show it's a very entertaining show, and it does a lot of. It's one of the few shows I see on a daily basis that use a lot of wire work. And wire work itself is a very unique thing, but it's like wire work martial arts. They do a lot of that, and then like a couple Jet Li movies. And if you go look at some more classic like movies like Hero and Fearless things of that nature, you see a lot of wire work. It was one of the things I watched in a film class I took actually, and in wire work is when executed well can look great. And Into the Badlands is one of the best wire work kung fu things in a long time. It pays great homage to that world, and it did this smart thing. But Into the Badlands season 4 starts with, this is the problem with Into the Badlands season 3 and 4. It kind of mushed together a bit. Like season 1 and 2 are distinct. I can remember, boom, boom, that's what happened, bam, bam. Seasons, 3. But season 3, by the time season 3 comes around, Sonny is raising his son by himself. He met, him and Baji are trying to save his son. And that's kind of him and Baji are like kind of doing their whole duo thing. And the widow, who if you've been keeping up the show, she's been kind of a villainous character for the first, I'd say, few seasons. Well, she's not been a villain. Like, the show does a good job. Like, I will say, the one thing this show does great is it sets up all these different. The show tries to play the gray card. Because this is a dystopian world. This is an apocalyptic world, but it's not apocalyptic in the way that you think, in the way that you think a normal apocalypse would go. And by the end of this 4th season, they don't outright come out and say how the apocalypse happened, but you can piece it together how this apocalypse happened. Because in the first few seasons, you have no idea why they have no guns in this world. We'll have no idea why they have no guns. You don't have no idea what happened, because it's not radioactive. You can tell it's not radioactive. Whatever happened wasn't radioactive. Whatever happened wasn't bombs, and you just can't tell what happened. Obviously, they still have vehicles. They still have, vehicles and working electricity, and, they still have a lot of things that we have now, but something's missing. Whatever it is, guns are missing, and you never see guns, and there's no explanation for why they're missing, and it's just it's curious, and there's no explanation for how this apocalypse happened. Or I guess I'd just say dystopian world, because apocalypse kind of makes it sound like it's like some like there's creatures out there, or there's zombies roaming, or even that you just can't go or even it's like Metro where you can't go on the surface. No, it's not even like that in this world. There are no weird looking creatures. There aren't nothing like that. But it's unexplained. Season 4 is when they finally start to explain a little bit of what happened. First of all, throughout the first 3 seasons, there's this place called Azura that's talked about a lot. Like this massive city that's this once massive city that kind of resembled an old school city like New York or something. It was like, the way they kind of talked about it was like the last standing city, at least close by. They don't really talk about the world. They just kind of focus on their region that they're in, which is never confirmed where. But But throughout this course of the seasons, you do see human shit. Like at one point, MK, one of the characters in the show, MK, falls through a hole and falls in this area that's a shopping mall. He falls through a hole that's a shopping mall. So it's obviously this had to have taken place a long time ago for the growth for the environment and the trees and the growth to have grown over a shopping mall. So it obviously happened a while ago, or it might have just been a store. But it obviously, whatever happened a long time ago. But he fell through and he fell in a shopping mall. And it's obvious that, this is a dystopian world because you see a shopping mall and it looks like any other, well, not a shopping mall, my bad, it's a store, but it looks like any other store. So there's things like that of that nature, but they always set up this Azra thing. And the main character of this story, Sunny, is, he's had an up and down, thing throughout the course of the 3 seasons. He started off as a Clipper, and Clippers work for like a Baron, who are basically like the king of their little domain. It's basically some gang shit going on. It's basically tribal shit. Just think tribal rules. Just think tribal rules with well-skilled, with intensely skilled people, and intensely skilled people with vehicles. They just think that. Just think like that, and then you'd probably get in. He was a badass Clipper. Love the guy. Love Sonny. He's my favorite character on the show. He is the main character, and he's just a bad motherfucker. And through the course of the show, he's lost his wife. He's lost the woman he loved, and eventually he had to raise this child on his own. And Sonny's whole thing throughout the course of this too, of seasons up from 2. These last 2 seasons is to protect his son Henry. That's Sonny's main priority, and he feels bad about all the shit that he did in his past. But, there's a lot of things, like, there's this theme running throughout the show of who you are, of hopelessness, of you can't let someone tell you who you are. You have to be yourself. You have to be you, and not let people dictate you. Can't let someone dictate your life, and that's kind of a common theme throughout the show. It's a theme with Sunny. It's a thing with the Widow, which you discover throughout the course of this season. The Widow's past. You get to see into a lot of the characters' past. You get to see the relationship between Widow and Baji, because it's hinted that Baji, one of Sunny's great friends, hilariously played by Nick Frost, was one of the Widows, was the Widow's mentor. I will say, At times, some of the dialogue in the show can be a bit cheesy. It can even be a bit disjointed, because there's conversations that, like, there's a conversation with the Widow and Baji in an episode. I can't remember the episode off the top of my head, but there's a conversation where they're sitting there and they're obviously supposed to be having that kind of banter between mentor and student, where they're reconnecting, but it just comes off so wooden and a little bit artificial. It really does. It comes off like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. It really does. And I don't know, the actress who plays the Widow, it's weird. She's so much better when she's okay. Wow, this is gonna sound so sexist, but I don't mean it. It's just her particular. She's so much better when she's doing mean bitch. Because when she's doing mean bitch, when she's doing like just straight up, I'm a bad bitch, because she is a badass. The Widow is a badass. I'm a bad bitch, here to take care of my business. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck about them. I'm doing what I think is best. When she's in that mode, great. But throughout the course of the show, they try to make her more sympathetic, and they try to give you more character on her, and they try to make her more human. And the more they do that, it just looks weird. And maybe that's on purpose, but it feels weird and it looks weird, because I'm like, yeah, she does a great job with the badass bit, but when they try to make her human, it just feels funny. It just feels weird, because Sunny's got the whole straight man thing going, and Nick Frost and Baji and Sunny are great. They might as well be a comedy duo, because Baji just won't shut up, and it's funny because Baji can actually kick ass. He's not just some fat guy who can't do shit, because Baji's a big guy, but even his fighting style, for the most part, is using his weight to his advantage. But Baji and Sunny are hilarious together. Like, they have they have the best chemistry. Because Sunny's just such a straight man, and Sunny will just just roll his eyes at Baji and stuff like that. And they play great off each other. But season 4, I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll say season 4, it was a solid season. But season 4 introduces a new villain, Pilgrim. And throughout the course of the 3 seasons as well, one of the big things that was discovered and kind of elaborated upon even more was the Dark Ones. Now, the Dark Ones in this world will be more... With the Dark Ones in this world, there are certain individuals who are born with this kind of demon, almost demon-like ability in them. Now, they don't say that, but it's almost demon-like, where when they cut themselves, their eyes go completely black, and they go into a blood rage, and they're super strong, super fast. So they're not super endurable, but they just don't feel pain. They're super strong, super fast. They don't really feel pain. They're just killing machines. They just murder everything, and they're like unnaturally strong and unnaturally fast. And they murder everything in sight until there's nothing to kill, and then they eventually calm down and drop down. That's MK. MK was the first character you see with this ability. Now, I will say season 4 and through the course of through the course of season 2 and 3, you discover that there are more people with this ability. Not only there are more people, but there's a whole monastery of people, and they know how to control it. It turns out you can actually use the darkness as a weapon, and you can learn to control it and use it as a weapon. Basically, it's a fucking Super Saiyan mode. But, and that's MK's journey through the 3 things. But I will say, when they introduced Pilgrim, by the end of season 4, there are so many people with this ability that it is just laughable. It's hard to believe that in season 1, which is still the best season, I don't think a season has topped season 1 for me yet. Season 2 is great too. It's season 1 and season 2 are kind of neck and neck for me, but this was a good season 2. It just wasn't as good as season 1 or 2. But I will say one of the negatives about this is that they kind of devalue the Dark Ones, because when you first see the Dark Ones, when you first see MK get cut and go into his blood rage, you feel terrified for him because you like MK. He's just this innocent kid and you don't know why he has his ability, and he doesn't know why he has his ability. When you first see it, it seems special. It seemed unique. Even when they introduced the monastery with all the other ones with the Dark Ones, you were just like, well, because the leader of them was this woman, and she can control... By the way, they straight up Jedi the fuck out of the Dark Ones. You know how, there's a lot of undefined abilities that Jedis can do? I mean, just, people can use the Force in undefined ways. That's what they do with the Dark Ones, with the gift, as they call it. The gift, as they call it, but they call people who have it Dark Ones because of their black eyes. And honestly, they kind of take it to... They do some Star Wars... They do some Force-like shit. You can see... if you master this dark force inside of you, you can see long distances, you can heal wounds, you can bring someone back from the fucking dead. I mean, the things you can do with this ability are asinine. And the thing is that the show can be a bit inconsistent, because the leader of that monastery, who it seems like she's learned how to control it the best, her abilities are up, or not up and down, but you wonder how she gets caught off guard. You wonder how people, because eventually she loses a couple times in this season, and you wonder even how that happens when she has that much ability. But that just shows you what you can do with it, and that is insanity. So, but to get into season 4 a little bit more, Pilgrim. Now, Pilgrim shows up, and he is one of the last children of Azra, and they finally get into Azra, because Baji, and then the end of season 2, set off a beacon that called Pilgrim. And Pilgrim is nuts. Pilgrim, he's got this... They kind of play Pilgrim up like a religious zealot, kinda. He's pretty much a religious zealot. Except Pilgrim, you can see progressively get worse, because when he first shows up, he is the villain. You know he's going to be the villain, but he's not presented like this evil dude. He's just presented like a guy who's just really preaching his religion. He really wants to rebirth Azra. He wants to save the Badlands. He wants to bring Azra back. And he wants to go through with the plans of his ancestors. And later on, of course, you get to see a little bit of Azra. I don't want to spoil that for you. But that's his whole thing, is he wants to save the Badlands. He wants to change Azra. Rebirth Azra. But the more it goes on, the more twisted and dark he becomes. Because he doesn't start off that bad. He actually doesn't. He's actually a good, not a good man maybe, but a good leader. He actually cares about his people. He cares about doing the right thing. He doesn't jump right to fighting. He doesn't want to kill people. You know, he'll kill you if he needs to. He'll try not to. But the more it goes on, the more corrupt. And his mother's such an evil bitch. And him and his mother's dynamic is creepy as fuck, which makes him a really good villain. And you know, it was kind of stereotypical. The power, just a kind of minor spoiler, the power eventually gets to him. Just to let you know, the power eventually gets to him. But when he comes off top, man, he has 2 Dark Ones with him who are highly trained at using their abilities. He has the ability, which is unknown to everyone else. No one quite knows why he knows how to do this, but he has the ability to just cut your dark power off. No questions asked. He can just cut it off. He can just hit you a couple times in certain spots and just cut your power off. And later on, it's kind of discovered, minor spoilers here too, that he learned it in Azra. That was one of the things that he got taught in Azra, and like it's one of the reasons why, you know, he thinks he's this prophet, because he's one of the last surviving children of Azra. There's only a couple of them. There's only about 5 surviving people. It's Baji, damn it, I'm trying to remember. Baji, MK, and it's a couple other people. There's only a few people who survived that place being brought down. You even discover how Azra got brought down. You got to see Azra, see how it got brought down. You get to see more of Sunny's backstory. You got to see more of how this apocalypse happened to begin with. And in the end, they reintroduce something that is going to change the entire show. And if you're wondering what I'm thinking, think Kung Fu Panda 2. And you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'll give Into the Badlands season 3 an 8. I couldn't give it any more than that because there were still some things that I didn't like, but for all the information that we got, it answered a lot of questions that I had. It answered so many of them. It answered at least 3 big ones. How the apocalypse probably happened, where are guns at, where they all go. Like, it answered, what is Azra, and what did it look like, and why is it such a big deal? You know, it answered a many questions. Does Sunny have the gift? And it just answered a lot of questions, and you discover a lot of them. So, I gotta give it a solid 8. Thank you for joining me in the Comic Gary Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.